All out and clear on my end. So let's skip the pleasantries and just get straight to business. What's my cut? Wait, that's it? Like 5 to 10%? What the hell are you talking about? I should be making way more than that. Oops. Oh well. That conversation was getting boring anyway. Yes, sir, Sargon. To the victor shall go the spoils.
Our soldiers often wondered where Sargon had actually come from. Some believed that he had descended from heaven, like the founder of Kish. Others said that he was an orphan who had been found in a basket floating on the Euphrates. I have even heard some townsmen say that he was the son of a priestess who had given birth without having ever lain with a man. Sargon only smiled at these rumors. He said that it does not matter where a man comes from, only where he goes, and that he himself follows the path that Ishtar shows him. That path led to war. With Kish subdued, Sargon sent his army to conquer the countless city-states of Mesopotamia in Ishtar's name. The masters of these cities scoffed at Sargon's ambitions, yet secretly, they all feared him. In order to match Sargon's army, they joined forces under the leadership of Lugal-Zegesi, the priest killer. He was a brutal man, feared for his atrocities across the region. He would often desecrate the temples of the cities that he conquered. Yet, he was a capable tactician and a gifted commander, a suitable challenge for Ishtar's champion.
Hey guys, Ognajteff here, and today we're getting right back into the second Sargon mission in the campaign here in Age of Empires 2. 2. Anyway, so the objective of this map is actually really simple. You have an artifact, and then you have to take that artifact in each of the 4 named cities. And then once the artifact is in a flagged area and the enemy's forces, both Lugal-Zegeshi's and that city's units are defeated, the city flips to being your ally. Furthermore, each city is defended differently. Susa, the green city immediately to my right, is actually open for attack immediately and can actually fall really quickly prior to them being able to set up any attacks against me. So that's what I'm doing here. Now, I'm going to have to pass through a village just to the north. There's 4 of these villages, and if I build a market, they start sending me tribute for extra bonus resources. So, skirting past some of Lugal-Zegeshi's forces that are just patrolling by the village, I'm going to try and attack from the north. I will be honest, this is a mistake. The south is completely unguarded, and also has a shorter run to the area which I need to catch. The northern entrance here I thought would have been open, but actually has all their units in it. So I'm coming face first into their archer line and their monk line. So Susa here is actually an Elamite city rather than a Sumerian city. And this city in-game specializes in archers and monks. And I just temporarily lost the artifact there. Don't worry, that will be fixed. Oh boy, almost lost him. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And flipped. Okay, that was actually really close. And once you flip your first city, you get a very angry message from Lugal-Zegeshi. Take the mic.
Who do you think you are, Sargon? A holy man? As far as I know, you have only pushed the senile old man from his throne. Do not make the mistake of considering me such a pathetic figure.
So, while we get into this sort of economic period where we rebuild our forces from that disastrous attack on Susa, let me just describe a little bit about sort of what's happening here, historically speaking. So Susa, like I said, is an Elamite city, which is actually a completely different culture, which is sort of where Persia would become. That is actually the same thing with Larsa, which is the red city-state, I should say, down to the sort of like southeast corner of the map. Lugal-Zegeshi, meanwhile, would have been king of Uruk. He was a nobleman who would seize the throne there and then actually be the first king of a unified Sumer. Until, of course, Sargon of Akkad usurped his throne and took it from him. Now, I was going to do some tricks with the army here as I rebuild. I got my phalanx and my chariots, and then I noticed these guys coming over to play. The Cyan are starting to come over and poke at me a little bit. These guys are going to be the single most troublesome people in the entire game, spoiler alert. Not least of which, because now I had to turn around all my forces, including that dead chariot, to go and have to deal with them. But once this raid is done with, we'll be able to turn around and deal with the villages. Speaking of which, as I had mentioned, the bonus objective of this map for bonus resources was to claim these villages by building a market square. So you can see the villagers sneaking up behind as I send the army in to find where that patrolling, yep, there they are, units of Lugal-Zegesi. So, as I said, he was the king of Uruk. However, he was not actually from Uruk. Originally, Lugal-Zegesi was actually from the town of Umma, where he would actually rise to the kingship and then conquer his neighbor Lagesh before proceeding to go conquer Uruk. It was actually the destruction of Lagesh, which would be sort of inspiration towards this mission, where he's known as the Temple Destroyer. Meanwhile, in the background here, I finally built up an army of chariots, of camel riders, and other units just in time to test out that army against the invading forces of Nippur, one of the major cities of the region that would eventually fall to Sargon. However, they destroyed my dock, which is a little annoying, but then again, I have all my farms, and it's not the worst loss in the world. So, sending my forces forward to destroy them, and dodging rocks as they fall, I'm going to probably do a bit of tit-for-tat and lay siege to the city. So, now we're going to do the exact same thing and do a bit of a raid on them to draw out their forces here. Their heavy cavalry is coming out, and we have their chariot archers and catapults coming in through the back line. We're going to have to spread out our forces, surround, and destroy. Now, thankfully, the city here will actually be relatively easy to take, although I do make a small mistake around the gate here. So I currently have it so that my units are actually stuck in the gate and are able to actually just pull in and keep the gate open. And then I do this. The army reorganizes and the gate closes. I am not happy. So now I'm going to have to sit here getting thwacked while I take down the gate, and oh look, they just made a mistake by doing the thing that all people should do, and that is charge the closed gates while the enemy is right outside. Oh look, my army's inside now. The important thing about Nippur here is that it was the city that could confer the title of king to foreign rulers. Specifically, Lugal-Zegesi and Sargon of Akkad would both claim the city and the kingship through Nippur. So it's actually just a simple thing. We just got to clear up the enemy camels and then just sort of get the artifact into the center and clear out the last couple of units. Come on. Boom. Another city now allied to our glorious campaign. Next up is the city of Essene, which is another anachronistic city in a way, as it would not become a major hub until after the fall of the Akkadian dynasty. Although that does not mean the city itself did not exist prior, it just didn't become a major trade or cultural center until after. However, it should be noted that this city, of all the cities in this game, gave me the most problems. Despite this, those catapults are chewing me alive. Not to mention, I came from the wrong angle. They're completely undefended from the southern side. However, I just decided to walk in here, and their archers are chewing me up. And then we've got the forces of Lugal-Zegesi, which decided to join in, and they are slaughtering my very weakened units. To the point where I'm pretty sure only 3 units, including the artifact, are actually going to survive this battle. So the main problems here were threefold. 1, the catapults were hitting my units, who were getting gummed up at the gates. 2, archers are now picking off my units as they try and march through, and 3, my units were so spread out that every time I issued a movement command, they would restructure where they were at, rather than actually moving towards the place I sort of directed them towards. However, once these last couple of units are dead, and not a moment too soon, the city should flip. There we go, thank goodness. That was actually the hardest battle, but there was something more to come.
Now let us see if that self-proclaimed chosen one is immune to our swords and arrows. Charge!
Well, well. We will soon find out which of us bit off more than he could chew, Lugal-Zegesi.
With that call to arms, the battle has now been joined by the full force of Lugal-Zegeshi's army. I'm going to have to run south with my rebuilt forces to save the market town that I built there, while the green takes on one half of their forces, and then blue and purple combined sort of distract the third. So, the problem here for them, actually, is they've spread out. Half their units were attacking my market, the other half sort of ran forward towards my army, and I defeated them piecemeal. So their entire army was unable to bring its forces to bear, so we just slaughter them outright. This gives us a perfect advantage when it comes to the second portion of their army, which is now fighting just below us here, off to the bottom left. There they are, against purple's forces. And then across the way, green is going to be able to hold off against the last remnants in the east. However, all this combined is giving me actually a relatively good position here to rebuild and reconsolidate. I'm just going to send my faster units, aka the camels and the chariot archers, forward, and I'm going to redeploy the the phalanx infantry off to the right. That way they can cover, just in case any of the other units from the east sort of come through. Although by this point, they've already been defeated in this area, with the few remaining stragglers now just remained picked off. And then the east, the last couple of the units there are now being destroyed. With this, Lugal-Zegeshi is no longer a threat. All we need to do is conquer Larsa, the last city on the map. So, after another brief period of rebuilding, gaining more resources, and just setting up for another attack, we're going to snipe the forces here as we build up a couple towers, and we just attack the gates here. We want to hold back all of our infantry, all of our camels, just until after we've dealt with all the infantry and the monks of Larsa here. Now, I had misattributed Larsa, actually. I said it was an Elamite city. That is incorrect. Susa is the Elamite city. Larsa is actually Sumerian. However, it is another anachronistic city in such a way, although this one makes a bit more sense, as it was confirmed to have existed in this region at this time. However, once again, it would not become a major power player till after the fall of the Akkadian dynasty and the rise of the Uruk dynasty. So now we've got all of our forces moving in. I'm kind of tired of just trying to play it safe. So they've opened the gates for us, but I'm not content with just walking straight in. We are going to destroy their gate so we can get everything all at once and not make the same mistake we did over in Easton. There we go. Gate is down. Our forces are ready. Let's move in en masse as we destroy their infantry with our cavalry. Now, it's actually just a short jaunt. If we had gone through the front entrance, we'd have to go through multiple towers, all the production structures, and also have to fight off any units they've built pre us getting in, as well as the forces of Lugal-Zegeshi that sort of remain in this city. However, because we come through the north, it's a much shorter walk over to this area, and we're easily able to distract or destroy anything that comes to face us. So with that, we've conquered the last city here in this second mission, and let's let Umar take back the reins and tell us a bit more of the story.
After several bloody campaigns, the enemy coalition was crushed. The goddess of war may have enjoyed the slaughter, I shuddered at the piles of bodies that we left behind in her name. Still, our mission was not over. Ishtar had promised Sargon all of the land that lies between the two great rivers. But as long as Lugal-Zegesi remained at large, Sargon's claim to hegemony would be challenged. As the tyrant fled southwards, our soldiers pursued him to his well-fortified capital of Uruk. There, holed up behind its walls, he began scheming once more.
Hey guys, we're just going to do a quick intermission here, just between missions 2 and 3, as we want to look at the tech tree. Something I really should have done last episode, but didn't get around to. So the Sumerian civilization's tech tree here is one part good, one part perplexing. We'll start with the good, that being the focus on the phalanx infantry and chariots as spoken in last episode. However, there's also the idea that the government structures outweigh the temple structures, symbolizing how the state apparatus under the nobility took precedence over the temples in Sumeria, as opposed to the Egyptians, which were far more temple-based rather than state-based. Another positive here would be the economic bonuses. The villagers, farms, and town center cost all sort of reflect Sumer being the first major civilization in the Fertile Crescent. Now, it should be noted, Sargon is not Sumerian. He's Akkadian, as the name suggests, meaning he was actually Semitic, more in line with the Assyrians and Babylonians than the Sumerians. However, given where this campaign takes place, it makes sense. One last interesting thing on the good side is actually the complete lack of cavalry. If we look here, no horses whatsoever. However, this is a little bit weird, alongside the fact that there's camels, and they actually get a full bonus, and the horse archers for some reason. The reason I say the positive for no cavalry is that horses would not have been domesticated in the Middle East at this time. Instead, it would have been the onagers. No, not that kind. That kind, yes. Moving on from the good, let's talk about the perplexing, we'll say. Not necessarily bad, just the strange. Going back to the cavalry thing, the camel rider, horse archer, and heavy horse archer, you would not have been riding horses at this point. And I doubt you would have had military units comprised of camel riders either, as the camel was only just being domesticated as well. However, what I don't understand is the complete lack of composite bowmen, which is particularly strange as it was during Sargon of Akkad's reign that these bows would have been introduced to Sumeria, specifically from the tribes to the north. And finally is the civilization's specialty, siege. Now, I understand them having chariots, but catapults and stone throwers, not so much. Then again, that may have just been a lapse in the research, but I'm pretty sure that they were not really considered in real life a siege civilization. The Assyrians, definitely. The Babylonians, sure. The Romans, 100%. But Sumer, not quite. Anyway, this has just been a brief look through the tech tree here, just looking at the historicity of the various units available in the various techs. Let's get back to our fight against Lugal-Zegesi as we finally claim all of Mesopotamia for Lord Sargon.
Once, as Lugal-Zegesi was burning down a temple, a dying priest uttered with his last ragged breath, "The blood of the innocent will be paid for by the blood of the one." Not one to ignore a second prophecy, Sargon took the priest's words to heart when reports of them reached his ears. They became a mantra that our soldiers echoed as we marched on Uruk. We knew that Ishtar would guide our way and grant us victory once more.
So, coming into Mission 3, the objective is actually quite simple. We just need to kill Lugal-Zegesi. However, to do that, we must consider all the obstacles in our way. First, Lugal-Zegesi is in the city of Uruk, Uruk being the city of Gilgamesh, and one of the major capitals of Sumer. Uruk is also allied with Ur, which is also probably the single most famous of all of the Sumerian cities, due to its large ziggurat, as well as its sort of central place in Sumerian history as one of the major centers in the civilization. Between us and both those city-states are Lugal-Zegeshi's army, a series of production structures, horse archers primarily, who will come around and kick my arse if I'm not careful. However, if I destroy the chariot makers, specifically the stables just to the south of me here, I'll be able to halt their production of chariots, so they only have cavalry archers. To assist me in this, I do have an ally. Isin from the last mission, still in Cyan, is on the other side of the map, and using the flare system, I can tell them where to attack at any given point. Now, fast forwarding a bit, I've been doing some raiding to the south, destroying those chariot makers, just as I'm getting attacked from the north here from Uruk itself. So, I'm going to have to sort of split up my forces here to try and save myself, honestly, as I've been completely caught out of position. So, oh god, the monk got stuck in that unit. Okay, so I'm going to keep the phalanx to the south, and then I'm going to run north with any of my faster units to try and sort of prevent them from destroying everything I have in the area. But while I'm doing this, I'd like to quickly just talk about how this game uses narratives, and how this game discusses narratives. A bit of a tone shift, I admit, but it's kind of important to note that this game isn't telling a true history because it can't tell a true history. What little we know about the real Sargon is fragmentary at best, and interspersed with a lot of legend. I've said that in the last episode. So instead, it takes on that idea that what we know is mostly a legend of Sargon, and it plays with that lens. So we have seen Sargon in the first mission destroy temples in order to convert cities, and then we turn around and see the cruel and evil Lugal-Zegeshi, destroyer of temples. In this mission, he has been cursed to fall due to his destruction of Lagesh. However, had we not also done the same thing? Are we not just as evil if we take destruction of temples as the metric? Furthermore, instead of trying to tell, oh, this, then this, then this, the story rather tells of morality. It takes the idea that Sargon is the chosen warrior of Ishtar, and is doing all this conquest in her name. So long as he's fighting in the name of Ishtar, he is seen as morally justified in this story, even if he's bringing great death and destruction, which brings up a bonus objective here. While I'm destroying the chariot makers and the armed forces of Lugal-Zegeshi, I'm also made to target farms and villages, specifically so I can starve out the people of Uruk, who are resisting my ability to attack them. Is this not the action of a cruel conqueror, rather than a justified holy warrior? These are the questions that this story will continue to ask as we move on to the missions 4 and 5, but more on those later.
Not a single farmer escaped our blades. Uruk's inhabitants will have no food for years. Was this really necessary?
It was the divine will. Never question that again, soldier. It is not for you to query Ishtar's intentions.
Of course, Lord Sargon. Now, our next major target, just south of these chariot makers, is Ur. And Ur has a little surprise for me. That's right, elephants. And say it with me, elephants would not have been domesticated and ridden into battle during this time period. Sorry for ruining all the fun. However, they have a second surprise. This wonder. Ur constructs a wonder, which is sort of your ticking clock, as it were, to force you to have to fight them or try and kill Lugal-Zegeshi really quickly. So for me, despite the fact that my army is getting whittled down and slaughtered, I'm going to have to go after that wonder, preferably before it is built, so that way I get the Steam achievement. Sorry, I mean, rake in all the gold and rewards that would have gone into building it. However, the big problem with Ur and their elephants is they are very bulky. They are very bulky, and they've absolutely decimated my army, which means now I'm sending in units piecemeal, getting picked off one by their archer elephants, until slowly I get some support from Isin as well, and we're able to finally destroy Ur. So finally, after a long period of building up, teching up into our maximum levels, as well as slowly grinding away all of Lugal-Zegeshi's forces that sit outside the city, I'm finally able to put Uruk itself to siege. So first, I use horse archers. Yes, I know I complained about them, but quite frankly, they are stupid strong. So I'm going to use these guys to draw out enemy units, namely these camels, a few infantrymen, and archers, and slowly whittle away their forces. And once their forces had been depleted, I can send in my scythe chariots, my centurions, and my elephants into one glorious battle against the few remaining forces of Lugal-Zegeshi, where he finally falls. And with that, I thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time. But first...
Surrender! But do not treat me as a common criminal, I think. A king deserves better.
When we captured Lugal-Zegesi, we did not kill him right away. Forcing him into a yoke like a common criminal, we paraded him all across Sargon's new kingdom. We took him as far as Lagesh, within whose ruins the dying priest had pronounced his prophecy. The evil defiler looked old and frail as he knelt in the temple ruins for his execution. His death ended the age of kings that had guided the fortunes of Mesopotamia for centuries. Now it was up to Sargon to shape his new empire, and it soon became apparent that he had ambitious plans. Plans that chilled my blood.